Hello and welcome to the debrief for West Ham United 0, Brentford 1. This is a show where the subscribers of Hammers Chat are in charge of what we discuss. So if you're watching live, get your thoughts into the live chat. We're going to get them up on the screen and have a little discussion together about whatever you want to talk about. It could be Graham Potter's tactics. It could be a certain player's performance or lack of performance. Maybe there was something positive you liked from the game yesterday. It's up to you. You decide what you want to discuss. Get into the live chat. And if you're watching this a little bit later on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, get involved in the comments underneath this video. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to Hammers Chat, please do subscribe to the channel and also drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Both things are free and help the channel out. So let's dive in to the message board, the live chat. Mike says, I've been a season ticket holder for years, and since moving to Suffolk, I have a 5-hour round trip to every home game. Longer yesterday, and for that I've had enough this season. It was disappointing yesterday, and the stadium atmosphere is getting worse. Being a season ticket holder for years and have a 5-hour round trip to the game, but seriously considering stopping going until next season. Not on your own there, Mike. I think there's a lot of people in a similar boat to yourself. There's a lot of contributing factors to it. There was a lot of transport issues yesterday to get to London. And then when you're in London, the Queen Elizabeth line was down for large parts of the journey as well. So it is difficult. There's the West Ham experience, which isn't great at the minute. But then there's the sort of the London Stadium experience. So you've got the team performance, then you've got the match day experience, which the club can control. That's not great at the minute. And then you've got like the external factors, which West Ham have got nothing to do with, but it's getting to the London Stadium. That's not great at the minute. And all three, well, two things are expensive as well. So it's a bad combination for the match going fan. Mark's just talked about Thomas Souček maybe go to Everton. David said, I was annoyed with myself for believing we would win. Nothing wrong with feeling optimistic. 4 home league wins this season is very disappointing. Yeah, I still get annoyed though. I still sit there thinking, especially at halftime, given how bad we were in the first half, I did sit there thinking, what an idiot I was for thinking we were going to win this game, because we were terrible. That first 45 was, I feel like it was as bad as I've seen this season. Like I said in the review, if you were to sit me down and make me watch 45 minutes of certain games under Lopetegui, I'd probably say, actually, it wasn't quite that bad. But it's hard to believe there was much worse performances. We didn't even have a shot on target in the first half. Felt like we had nothing at all in the attack. And they could have had 3 or 4 easily in the first half. Offside goals are offside. There's a little bit of bad luck, I guess, but it's offside. It's definitive. But they also hit the post. And yeah, like I said, if I was a Brentford fan, I'd be wondering how we only scored 1. Chris is asking if someone could discuss what Souček and Carlos Soler bring to the squad. Barry's saying, when is Guilherme going to get a chance to start? We need some speed in our team without Somerville. Bubbles is saying we need to trust Graham Potter. Rome was not built in a day. Major's annoyed that Brentford was wearing our socks. Graham, really disappointed with the last few games in particular. Thought we could/should have gotten something from them. Steve says, thought the first half performance was behind us, but obviously not. Outthought and outfought, and our lack of pace is looking even more marked game by game. Paul was also disappointed that Guilherme was only given 10 minutes. Fat Bloke says, we are far too slow to build up play. Movement is not good enough. Tony says, can't get the summer recruitment wrong, as same old problems with the squad. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Looking ahead to the summer, there's a lot of work to be done. There was going to be a lot of work, and that's what I was trying to reiterate when discussing the goalkeeping situation a week ago, that we got 5 players' contracts expiring, and then we've got Ferguson and Soler's loan deals coming to an end. So there's, from the squad today, there's 7 players potentially leaving West Ham in the summer. And I would argue they all need replaced, because if Fabianski went, you need to replace him. If Soufal goes, you need to replace him. Creswell, he's the one you could possibly make a case for, and Scarles is maybe his replacement. But at the minute, Potter's using Creswell and Ole Scarles and Emerson. So as make an argument, he needs replaced. Mikel Antonio and Danny Ings also, they need replaced, because if they both leave and Evan Ferguson leaves, we've got one striker, and that's Fulkrug. Ferguson just discussed, and Carlos Soler, again, another player we're utilising, so he would also need replaced. So we could have 7 players going out of the club with no money coming in for them. I mean, it's a lot of wages, don't get me wrong. Danny Ings is on £120,000 a week or whatever, but 7 players going, no money coming in for them, and at least 6 of them need replaced. That's expensive. That's before you even discuss upgrading any other players that are currently. So Mavropanos, do we need another centre back to replace him? Probably. You spent a lot of money just to get the squad up to like a baseline before you talk about upgrading. So there's a huge amount of work to be done this summer. Lewis says, I really want us to invest in the midfield in the summer. Too many games, teams run straight through us. An awful day at the office. Martin saying the first half was painful to watch. Why didn't he ring the changes in the first half, as we could have been 3 or 4 goals down, but waited until halftime to make those changes? Mark saying the last 2 games become quite momental and they didn't look terrible against Arsenal. I caught the first 55 minutes of the game yesterday. They looked okay. I think there's an element of Arsenal being quite lackluster at the minute, but then we're away to play them this weekend, so we'll get a bit of an idea whether how bad Arsenal are, or was Leicester just looking quite improved. I don't fear Leicester, but it's difficult to feel positive today off the back of that first half yesterday. It was really, really bad. Mark has done a fan cam, which will go up on a bit later. It's all ready to go. Just done the thumbnail for it and stuff like that. And he said the same at the start of his video. He said that felt like a Lopetegui performance in the first half. Hammer99 said, I've often wondered what, well, he didn't say that, I've added it. I've wondered what Kudus would be like in number 10. Safe to say I don't want to see it again. Greedy and poor decision-making. Poor out on the left. 2, very disappointed. Would take 50 million in the summer. Gonna have to be careful. You'd be accused of being racist. When we did the preview in that video, I said to go on, so I would drop Kudus and have Bowen and Paqueta playing behind Evan Ferguson. And somebody basically came along and said, oh, funny how you call it Kudus, not Bowen and Paqueta. Hinting at racism, isn't it? And then he said, well, they lose the ball more than Kudus. So I replied with statistics from Wisecout, and they said, well, you're wrong. That's not factually right. And he gave me statistics which didn't marry up with Wisecout, which I'm gonna believe Wisecout, right? I'm believing Wisecout's data as being genuine. And then he said, oh, he gets one of the most assists. So I replied saying Bowen and Paqueta got more assists than Kudus last season. Then it's changed to, well, I didn't say you got the most. So be careful. You might get accused of being racist, Hammer99. Barry says, we can't get a win for love or money. We ain't beating lower teams. I can see us losing a lot more. Alex saying it's frustrating seeing Forest where they are. Villa in the Champions League. Something we will never achieve. Sullivan needs to be forced out. Les saying it was very poor, so slow and no energy. And let me just take a mark of where I am, because I want to quickly point in direction of today's video sponsors, Stocks FC. Now, Stocks FC is a platform where you can purchase stocks in your favorite players. And the aim of the game is obviously that they perform on the weekend and you get paid out in dividends. If your player makes team of the week, or if they do well in play, scoring goals, getting assists, making key passes, you get paid for those player performances. Team of the week is out every Tuesday, and if your player that you own stocks in is in there, you will get paid out depending on how many stocks you own on that player. Now, to get you set up and started on Stocks FC, and what I'm going to do in the next couple of videos between now and the end of the month, I'm going to show you my portfolio. I've got 1 or 2 players doing really well, and I've got 1 or 2 players doing really badly. Guess what? Rasmus Højlund would do all right against Southampton and make it into team of the week, and he did crap. This guy. But to get you set up and get you started so you can have a look around the platform without putting anything at risk, if you join using our code, the link's in the description below, or you can scan this QR code that's over here in the corner. You join up through Hammer's Chat. Instead of getting 2 players on loan for free, you get 5 players on loan for free for a month. And to those players that you've got make it into Team of the Week or anything like that, you get paid out with real cash, to give you an idea of how the platform works. So it gives you a little bit of a beginner's guide, if you like, and whilst you have a look around. But I'll be, in the next couple of videos I talk about Stocks FC, I'll be putting up screenshots of my portfolio, but also how the market works a little bit, because I'm just getting used to it myself as well. But I've got a good understanding of it, and I'm hoping that 1 or 2 players I've got stocks in will do well between now and the end of the season, and I shall benefit. So Stocks FC, links in the description below, and we're going to go back to the live chat with Curvin Orchard. Says Brentford are a good side. 3 decent strikers and a wily manager, always going to be difficult. Stuart expected more. There aren't many games left that we should be winning. Hammerite, disappointing. Wasn't expecting that first half. Midfield issues. Souček was a traffic cone. Solar virtually invisible. Movement so slow with no energy. What were they doing for 2 weeks? I think that's the most disappointing thing for me, really, is the fact that we had 2 weeks on the training ground. Like I said, if up until now, there has been mitigating factors for Graham Potter. There has been legit excuses offered up. I was unhappy with our performance against Crystal Palace because I thought we offered absolutely no attacking threat. And I got a row from some subscribers, and I don't mind that. I don't mind being held to account by them and said I was being too harsh. And the reasons they offered were legit, which is you've got no attacking players. What do you expect? And that's fair. I just expected more. But yesterday, those reasons are kind of gone. You can't. He's had 2 weeks on the training ground. He's only got 3 players missing with Somerville, Antonio, and Fulkrug. And I appreciate, they're good players, and if they were fit, they'd be used. But pick a Premier League team, and I'll give you 3 players they're missing that would possibly make it into their starting 11 as well. Yesterday felt like the one that was, and I know it's not Graham Potter's squad, but I expect him to be able to work with the squad. I expect any good head coach to be able to come into West Ham and work with the players we've got. Not to have us in the Champions League, but just to see us get by and put in good performances. And the answer is he can't do that, or he can't work with the squad, then we shouldn't really be employing him, really. If Graham Potter's come along and said, yeah, that's those players, I can't work with them. I need a complete new squad altogether in the summer. And we possibly shouldn't be employing him. We should be looking for a head coach that could work with the players we've got available at this team. So that's my disappointment, the fact that we've had 2 weeks. And the result, I was hoping to see some evidence of that. And actually, it was the worst performance we've seen under Graham Potter thus far, I think. Hasib said Emerson was at fault with that pathetic weak header with no focal point. Hence, when Ferguson came on, we were better. Scars needs to start a game. Solar's useless. We have no pace. Lawrence says Kudus has been sussed out by teams and just crowd him out. He doesn't have the mindset to draw fouls, at least with 3 players on him. Guilherme's got speed and draws fouls, which is an asset, surely. James is saying, what's the point of Guilherme playing well off the bench against Chelsea when it only gets 5 minutes? Might as well play badly. It doesn't make a difference. Infinitely said, Potter has said he learned something from the game. Kilman suits a back 3. We'll see us stick to 3-4-3. I mean, I learned something from the game, and that's don't get my hopes up. That's what I'm learned. Don't expect to win for the rest of the season. Lewis says Kudus' fall from grace has been pretty incredible. Just hope it's lack of confidence. Last season he looked undroppable. Charlie was saying it was a poor game from him. We complained he wasn't trying anything. And when he did, by taking people on, he got bullied. I think he's talking about Kudus, but apologies if not, Charlie. Barry says we have to start Ferguson next week and not see Souček anywhere near the first team. And Guilherme has to be playing as a 10. Solar and Ward-Prowse. Alvarez is really slow, and Mavropanos swap for Taribo. Yeah, I'd get Ferguson in there. I think he looked good when he came on. I understand why he did it at the start, but we need to get him in. I thought we looked a lot different when he was in the team, and not just he was good. Paqueta was bad in that sort of false 9 role. Osbedian says, I suspect some players like Solar and Souček flatter to deceive in training. Always picked, but never perform on the day. Colton, who's a Newcastle fan, I assume, with that NUSC and a Magpie, says West Ham will bounce back yesterday. I think you'll bounce back as well. Chris said, I think the change of shape cost us a bit. We have looked a bit more solid with 3 at the back and the box midfield. Should have stayed with the shape. I completely agree with what Chris was saying. I was surprised we did change. Stephen enjoyed the second half. It was okay, but I think it's circumstantial. Brentford were happy to sit back and let us have the ball. If there was one thing I was disappointed by when we did the preview, I'm sure it was in the preview, I said it to Gonzo, which was against Aston Villa. We came out in the second half and we were putting crosses in. And I liked it because I thought it was going to work. I wanted to see us put crosses in because they had an injury in the first half to Mings. So Luka Dean was playing centre-back next to Konsa, one tall defender. Crosses were going to be good against Villa. And it did work in the end. Emerson got the goal with a header. And when we did the preview, I said Potter's going to come up with something different. You can't do crosses against Brentford. They've got Van den Berg in there. They've got Collins in there. They've got Ayer starting at right back, who's a centre back. So they've got 3 really big players, very comfortable in the air, in the box. And I was expecting us to come up with something different. But in the second half, I felt like all we did was put crosses in. We were getting the ball out wide and cross after cross after cross. And it wasn't working. It was getting cleared. It was getting cleared. It was getting cleared. And I have to be honest, I thought it was really naive tactics from us to think that eventually it was going to work. And I don't mind it. I don't mind the crosses and whatever. But what made it more confusing, now, I think Souček had a bad game yesterday and he deserved to be removed at half-time. However, if at half-time we decided our tactics in the second half is going to be get the ball wide and cross it, I think taking Souček off at the same time was perhaps a silly thing to do. Did he deserve to stay on? No. But if you decide your primary tactic's going to be to get the ball into the box, I think there's a strong case that Souček should have remained on the pitch and be moved further up the pitch, swap him with Lucas Paqueta, have Paqueta next to James Ward-Prowse, take Alvarez off if you have to, and put Souček up there with Evan Ferguson. So you've got 2 players in the box to aim for. But we didn't. We had 1 player to aim for in Evan Ferguson, and he was easily marked for crosses. So I just thought it was quite naive tactics from Graham Potter in the second half. We looked good. We looked with the ball. We were comfortable moving about. We were in there, camped in their half. But we were losing, and it was pretty easy for Brentford to see out that win. Flecking had very, very little to do in the second half, despite us dominating possession. MJ Lewis says, I'm not that annoyed with loss. We would lose a game like this fairly often. I was just really deflated by the performance. Second half was better, but it's too late, really, by then. Ralph was saying, why are we so crap at corners? Why does Guilherme only get 5 minutes? And where are we getting our next 3 wins? Tight lines is backing Potter all the way to do a good job. This season is finished already. Let's just hope we don't get dragged in down there because it could become squeaky. Just very worrying performance. I'm hoping Liverpool beat Wolves today. Stops Wolves decreasing that buffer zone we've got between us and them at the minute. That's when it would start to get better. There's only 5 points between us and Wolves now. And B, because I've got Arne Slot as my assistant manager in Fantasy Premier League, so I could do with some points from him. So there you go. That's what I'm hoping for. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying my best to avoid anything to do with David Moyes. There's an ongoing debate through the live chat since the start of the video about David Moyes. I'm trying to avoid it. I've tried to avoid discussing David Moyes since he left because I thought he's gone now. Let's just move on. I don't think it'll be helpful if we continue to discuss him. But it creeps into pretty much every video. But the chat is covered in it at the minute, so apologies for me taking a while to click on comments. I am on purpose. I'm ignoring pro or anti Moyes comments. Right? There's some saying we should have kept him, blah blah, and there's some saying he should have went. And there's a debate / argument going on. I'm avoiding them. Graham saying, why do we continue to play the ball out from the back and no one wants to take the ball forward? Goalkeeper had more touches in midfield. That annoys me. And that's where, if you're going to have your back three in your box midfield like we usually do, you need all 5 players to be comfortable to receive the ball from the goalkeeper on the deck. And I'm not sure we've got that. I think sometimes we do play it out from the back when it's easy and there's space. And, you don't want to do what Fulham did against us, where it gives the ball to Pereira when Alvarez is breathing down his neck and it forces errors. But the midfielders do need to be more comfortable and better at coming and getting the ball from not just the goalkeeper, but the centre-backs as well. And that's what I was disappointed with yesterday. I think James Ward-Prowse is, by the way. I think Ward-Prowse is comfortable to come and get the ball from those defensive players. I'll be honest and say he is a bit sideways and backwards at times, Ward-Prowse. So when he gets it, he might get it from Areola and give it to Kilman. So the net result's not much further forward. But the idea is obviously that Kilman's man would come away from Kilman to try and close down Ward-Prowse, and it frees Kilman up from, when they were standing facing Areola, he might have someone behind him. Now he doesn't, and that's where you can change your angles and your channels of play, if you like. But I think Ward-Prowse would be perhaps a bit better at it than Alvarez and Thomas Souček. Stephen saying, have we spoken about where Bowen was playing in the first half? No. You can put a further comment in if you wish, Stephen. I mentioned it in the review. I thought he was on the touchline in the first half, and I did not like it. That was one of my most disappointing things about Potter yesterday. I feel with Jarrod Bowen, we've got such a unique talent and a very, fantastic player. I think he's very underrated. The numbers he produces is brilliant. And I thought he was in such a position yesterday in the first half that he couldn't really impact the game. When he got it, I felt he was out really wide. I couldn't tell he was playing wing back or not, because I thought we were playing 4-4-2. In the first half, I felt it looked like 4-4-2, and therefore Bowen was a bit more, maybe 5-10 yards further back than you'd like him to be, but also, more importantly, 5-10 yards further out than I'd like him to be as well. Second half, we changed it up, and I felt like he came infield a lot more, and he was getting close to Ferguson and Ward-Prowse, and Wan-Bissaka was going by him a lot more often. But in the first half, I thought he was quite restricted by the tactics employed, and I didn't like that. I feel like if you can get the best out of Jarrod Bowen, you've got a damn good chance. So that was my opinion. Hopefully Stephen's popped his comment in, and when I get down the chat, we'll be able to click on it and see what he's saying. Major's eating a border biscuit, golden oat crumble. He's a convert. And the box is over there. I'm not going to go get it, but if you purchase a mug from Hamish Chat, you will receive a tea bag and a biscuit. Now, we've gone up in the world. When we first started selling the mugs, the tea bag came loose. I'm not going to lie. We could afford it, but we didn't sell enough mugs to make it worthwhile going and getting the covered tea bags. But you get it now. You get your PG tips in its little wrapper, and you get a packet board of biscuits. I think there's 3 biscuits in it. So yeah, we've gone up in the world. First brews on Hamish Chat when you buy a mug from us. So the board of biscuits they're over there. Hard to resist them when I'm in here doing work, and I know they're over there. But I keep them out of reach. I have to get up and go fetch them. Mark says Potter will get it right if given time and backing over the course of next season. The concern is the patience from supporters and the interference from Sullivan, but do like what he's trying to do. Butcher says Scarles needs to be starting from now on. Stephen was impressed with Scarles in the second half. Yep, I agree. I think he did very well when he came on. Stephen saying Bowen was nowhere that allowed him to play to his strengths in the first half. We agree. Infinitely also says Scarles needs to start. I believe Emerson should be moved on in the summer. West Ham World YouTube channel, Luke and the boys. So if you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel, please do. They're one of the OGs of West Ham YouTube. They were previously known as the Three Hammers. And when we started on YouTube, the Three Hammers weren't far behind us with launching their channel. And he says, do you see any scenario that we stay up and Potter goes? Just a thought. I like Potter, but if he only got 3 wins in 15, 16 games, would the board twitch? I'm going to say no, but Luke, you stumbled upon something that I was wondering last night, and that was when we employed, or just before we employed Graham Potter, there was all this talk about his contract length. about how he wanted a 2.5-year flat contract and we wanted to give him 6 months with clauses, and there was talk that it was going to be 2.5 years with break clauses. That's never been clarified. Now, I think, and I assume it's just a 2.5-year deal. I think he's got what he wanted, Potter. But you do wonder if there was clauses put in there, if we were to continue poorly between now and the end of the season, would it be triggered in the sense that West Ham could dismiss him? For what it's worth, I think, barring relegation, which I don't think will happen, I think Potter will be here next season. I don't see a scenario where they dismiss him, and I don't think they should. Even if the remainder of the season was pretty terrible, I think you've got to stick with him a little bit. Like I said, I'm disappointed with yesterday, but he's had one player, and that's Evan Ferguson on loan. I think in the summer, you've got to let him have the summer transfer window to move players on, bring players in, because I feel like it's a significant one. A lot of the old guard are moving on this window, aren't they? Creswell and Antonio. I know some people give Antonio a new deal. I personally wouldn't, because prior to the car crash, would you give Antonio a new deal? My answer would be no. I think I'm all for the club offering him like a coaching role or something and giving him a job, but just as a player, it's a no for me, because prior to the car crash, I thought he was okay at best. But I'd move him on in the summer. I'd say, no, thank you. You're a fantastic servant to the club and all that, but off you go. And I'd have an event. I would do something at the London Stadium at the end of the season for Creswell and Antonio, and I'd try and invite some players back if they could. Would Bonner come back? Would Winston Reid come back and play in a testimonial for, I call it the Alan Creswell testimonial if you want, but I just feel like sometimes the players go without much of a thank you for their service. I think it would give the club an opportunity. And this is why, you talk about the London Stadium and the club say, oh, no, it's our home. But we can't even have testimonials there. So how are we supposed to feel like it's our home if we're not even able to put on a testimonial because of the contract between West Ham and the landlords of the stadium? So anyway, I'm proper going off at a tangent here. But I think there's a big rebuild happening this summer, and I think you give it to Potter, Macaulay, and pray. I think you just pray it's right, but we'll see. But saying that, if the right manager came available in the summer for whatever reason, then I'm not saying you have to stick with Potter. I think we will. I'll be shocked if he's not here. Lewis said Wan-Bissaka's nailed on for Hammer of the Year. It highlights how inconsistent the squad have been. Mark says our better performance this season and even last season have been away from home. Could our stadium have something to do with this? I'm going to say yes without going into it. I think I've discussed it enough this week, and I'm aware I have. So I think at what point do you go from discussing a topic to having an agenda? I think it's a fine line, and I'm probably on that line at the minute. Scott says we're Donut FC. We've got a hole in midfield. We badly need pace in the middle because we're getting turned over and outpaced through the middle too much. You would imagine it's a bit of a priority for the club going into this window. It has to be, doesn't it? Barry saying Ward-Prowse's captain experience and Bowen is not that type of player, and it shows will affect him with the England team. I think he was meant to be vice captain, Ward-Prowse, wasn't he? I'm sure. Am I imagining this? Sure, Ward-Prowse was told he was vice captain during pre-season. Obviously, Bowen skipper, he's vice captain, and then off to Forest he went. I think that was part of the confusion with a lot of people involved at the club that we decided to loan him out after making him vice captain. Maybe I'm imagining this, but it's in my head that happened. I prefer Souček as a vice captain, by the way. I think when Bowen was there, I thought Souček looked really good as a skipper. Hasib said we need to pick up points. Relegation isn't far away. I'm still positive with Potter at the helm. He probably experimented yesterday and it backfired. I'll let you have that one. I wouldn't say he experimented. If anything, quite the opposite. I think he maybe played it safe with his team selection and it backfired. I think an experiment would have been, to have. If yesterday felt a little bit like he picked the 11 players he wanted to play and then worked out a way of playing them. because had he stuck with his usual way of playing at West Ham, that starting 11 would have been different in terms of personnel. I think he would have had to make a big call further up the pitch. And I feel yesterday we started the team we did so he could play Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus, and Solar to some extent, and he wouldn't have to drop one of them. Whereas I think if he went with these three at the back, he might have, unless he played Carlos Soler right wing back, he might have had to drop one of those players. You could include Souček and Alvarez in that discussion as well if you want. And I felt like he maybe picked the 11 and then thought, well, maybe 4-4-2. That's how I seen it in the first half. 4-4-2 is the way to go here. And I hope we don't go down that route. I was disappointed Kudus never got subbed, for example. I was sitting there watching it in the second half thinking, well, take him off and put Guilherme on, right? Because he's really struggling. He's not playing well. Take him off, put Guilherme on. Let's change it up a little bit. And I was disappointed we didn't do that sooner. So next week against Arsenal, I'm hoping to see a bit of an experiment. I'm hoping to see his three at the back. I'm hoping to see Ferguson up front. And I would possibly, from the team I wanted to see start yesterday, I think I'm only going to make one change to the team I want to see start against Arsenal because I want to see that. I want to see Bowen, Paqueta in the number 10s with Evan Ferguson in front of them. I think it will work. And I was disappointed we didn't see it yesterday. Anyway. Bardi says, Souček was captain. God knows how the players would take to that. Go faster, please. I never said Souček should start. Everyone's now. Sam says, imagine Souček should be captain. You can be. I thought he was a good captain. I thought Souček was a good captain when Jarrod Bowen was out. He's captain for his country. Captain does not equate to being the best player in the starting 11 or anything like that. If that's what you're saying, basically, I feel like there's a little bit of contradiction going on here. It's like, oh, Jarrod Bowen shouldn't be captain. He's one of our best players, but it's impacting his performances and he shouldn't be captain. But on the other hand, you're saying, no, you can't have Souček because he's not good enough as a player to be captain. So you're saying, take the captain's armband off Bowen, who's one of our best players, but don't give it to Souček because he's not good enough as a player. And I feel like it's a little bit contradictory. I think Souček is a fantastic captain. We can debate whether he should start against Arsenal or not. Personally, probably wouldn't have him in my starting 11 next week. Haven't thought about it too much, but change needs to happen in midfield. I don't want to see Alvarez and Souček again. So someone needs to come in there and someone needs to go out, possibly both go out. But yeah, I feel like debating Souček being good enough and Souček being captain is two different discussions, personally. I think Souček's a brilliant captain, personally. Alex is saying take away his goals and God knows where we would be further down the league, that's for sure. And Alex is also expanding on that, saying disrespect he gets is incredible. The man who runs through brick walls for us more than the prima donnas we have. Dale says Souček has to go off. He served us well. Both can be true. I never said that Souček should start. Oh, bloody hell. This is YouTube summed up. This is fantastic. I've said Souček's a good captain, and now people are saying, well, he shouldn't be starting. I never said he should be starting. I said I think he's a good captain. Anyway, if you tune into Patreon, you'll get this is the Indian and the Chinese takeaway analogy coming right in here live on YouTube. Jake saying, not sure what's going on with Kudus, but he needs to be dropped. He looks like a man who's either very low in confidence and or a man who doesn't want to be here. Scott saying Souček has the right mentality to be captain, is a great asset to the team. Just feel he isn't good enough. Now, there's a balanced comment that's applicable. Thank you, Scott. I'm glad we can we're on the same wavelength. Phil said frustrated vibes at the stadium yesterday. The honeymoon period, which we won one game, is now over. I think the three at the back system makes us look like a different team, but yesterday seemed like the same old stuff. I do agree with that one. It was frustrating. Liam says, with our current squad, we don't have the ability to play 4-2-3-1. Way too much space in midfield or pitch with players who aren't able to cover enough ground. Back to 3 from next week, please. And I'm going to Well, I'll read this one out as well then. Bass says there's something wrong with the mentality of the squad. Looks so fragile and nervous. Every time they attack, we look vulnerable. When we attack, they look fairly comfortable. Completely agree with that. And that's why I think it's a tactical thing, as well as a players thing. I think, some people yesterday off the review said, whoa, you can't blame Potter for this. So I would reply to him and say, so do you think he got his tactics right? Well, no. But okay, so you're admitting Potter got it wrong, but you also can't say Potter takes any of the blame. I blame them all. I blame Potter yesterday, got his tactics wrong. I blame the players yesterday because I thought their attitude in the first half was terrible. There was no aggression. There was no commitment. It was frustrating to watch. I don't like watching our West Ham team and feeling like they're not putting up a fight. That's when it irks me. It really annoys me. Whereas Chelsea, it felt like we were together. It felt like there was a real togetherness in that starting 11. And the players that came on, and they were fighting for every ball. They didn't win the first one. They went after the second one. But I just didn't feel like that yesterday against Brentford. And that's the more disappointing thing coming off the back of it. It's the attitude aspect. 2 weeks away. I feel comfortable that we won't get relegated. I felt like yesterday I watched a team that felt comfortable. They won't get relegated. And therefore, they can take it easy, maybe coast through till the end of the season. As I always say, fans are allowed to think one thing, but the team, you're not allowed. You as a fan, you're allowed to think we're going to get beat this weekend. But I want the players saying we're going to get beat this weekend. It's two different things. It's two completely different things, in my opinion. Anyway, before I round it off with a comment from Major. I've lost it. I found it again. Before I round it off with that, one more comment to come. Please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up if you have yet to do so. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. And also, if you fancy getting involved in Stocks FC, the link's in the description below, or scan the QR code. And when you sign up, you'll get 5 players on loan for 1 month for free, just to give you an understanding of how the platform works. And Major says, I can't believe you want Suchek to get a statue outside the stadium and have the 4th stand named after him. YouTube comments, what a wonderful time. I love YouTube comments for 95% of it, but there's that 5% that I don't get it sometimes. Anyway, Major, thank you very much. And thank you to you guys for joining me at home. I appreciate you tuning in as always. And I will catch up with you tomorrow. But later on today, Mark's fan can goes up. I think it's quite a good one. I'm biased, but I think it's quite a good one. Keep your eyes out for it. Catch you in a bit.